What does doing things well mean? What is the definition, your special, unique, personal definition on what doing things well is? What does it mean to do things well? Is it to do them perfectly? Is it to do them good? Good enough? What is it? What is the definition of the word well for yourself? How do you consider it? On like a more is it? Is it a sign of perfection? Or is it just a sign of enoughness? What is the word well? Because if it's a sign of perfection, you cannot achieve perfection. So you can never do things well. And if it's good enough, then you won't even get close to perfection. That's pretty weird, isn't it? You cannot do things well under any circumstances? That can be. So let's look at the philosophy. This morning, I just had a Spanish competition. I did not know a piece of vocabulary. It messed up the entire exercise for me. There went my hopes for a perfect mark, and there went probably even my hopes of getting to the next phase of that competition. All because I did not know a piece of vocabulary. That is ridiculous. However hard I trained, I probably wouldn't have learned that piece of vocabulary. It wasn't anywhere in like my reading material, in the things I was preparing for, it wasn't anywhere. So regardless of how well I trained, in like the couple of days that I did have to train, I couldn't have done it under any circumstances. I could not have done it perfectly. That's just luck. Bad luck, right? So, to be perfect, you need luck. Luck will never be 100% on your side because luck is objective, subjective. I don't know how to say it. Luck is never going to be 100% on your side. So you cannot do things perfectly. Can you do things good enough? No, you can't, because then you'll just remain mediocre. So how do you find a middle ground on how to do things without putting too much pressure on yourself for the impossibility of perfect and not remaining mediocre in that little hemisphere of good enough? What do? You try as hard as possible, but do not expect things to be perfect. Let me be very clear. When you're studying for an exam, when you're doing whatever, preparing for something, you need to try to branch yourself out, branch your mind enough out, gain enough knowledge to kind of erase the probability of error. Just because you studied that, now this is not a problem. That kind of preparation. But if you expect that to work 100% of the time, and believe me, it is probably the best way of going about it, then you're wrong. Because it's not going to work 100% of the time. You cannot study every single word in your vocabulary, as well as you can't study everything about that or prepare everything with that. If you're in a marathon, if something unexpected happens, if you randomly need to walk through a goddamn lake, you didn't prepare for that. You didn't know you had to prepare for that. And that's why your marathon is imperfect. It is so fucked. It is so impossible to actually do things right. So the best definition of right should be not good enough, not perfect. It should be to the standard I'm currently at. In my opinion, I did that Spanish competition. I did that perfectly. through my own standard, let's say. Because I studied a lot, I learned a lot of vocabulary. Bad luck screwed me over. So I still fared pretty well. Now, if I did not study and that word hit me, then I wouldn't be frustrated. Which means that it is actually my fault because I did not study, because I did not prepare. So, how do you study and prepare to erase the most mistakes? How do you erase the probability of failure? Not saying failure is bad, but how do you erase it completely? You just spend a lot of time on it. I know it sounds bad, but everything in life, entrepreneurship, relationships, goddamn systemized education, it comes down to the very basic investment of investing all your time, all your energy in one thing that probably doesn't have a guaranteed benefit. With systemized education, if you get into a good university, that's probably the hardest university to pass. Maybe you just screwed yourself over by putting all that effort in. If you go to Harvard, it is not guaranteed that you will graduate, is it? If you start a business, maybe you spend a lot of time and energy into something that ruins your career. If you start a relationship, maybe you ruin your emotional health because you do not know how to handle that relationship. Does that mean it is not worth doing? No. Everything is worth doing if it has an extreme benefit in your life and if it takes effort. If it has the chance of an extreme benefit. If you do something well, if you know that if you do something well, you will get a benefit, no matter how painful, no matter how much time you sink into it, then it is truly worth it. Stop trying to do things well. Well has lost its definition throughout the pop culture that it has been used in. It means perfection now, or it just means good enough, which are two flawed terms. Even the definition that little silly boy gave, goddamn, your best, your current standard, is not good enough. There will never be a definition good enough for what you need to put in. Maybe it's as close to perfection as possible, but you cannot grasp perfection. A perfect mark, even that isn't perfection. So, the best thing to do is to continue doing things, even though they might have a great risk, and just trust the process. And by trusting the process, you will probably trust the results. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.